What is up, everybody? Dan the Fireman here for the After the Ride podcast. I want to jump right into it, and I had a question during my live stream on the Dan the Fireman channel from Alan Taylor, and he's asking, what's the most important thing a rider needs to know to be safe on the road? And I gave him a gut reaction. I gave him something that just kind of blurted out, and I think that's how I do things. It's very gut, like my first instinct, and I think that's served me pretty well. So what I told him was, you need to understand motorcycling is dangerous. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? It sounds pretty simple when you say that. You know, everyone understands motorcycling is dangerous. That's why you have gear. That's why you need training, all these different things. But why? I said you need to understand it. It's not you need to know that motorcycling is dangerous. You need to understand that motorcycling is dangerous. You need to understand why. So why is motorcycling dangerous? Let's go ahead and go back just a little bit. I understand that you guys all relate to motorcycling, but the best way I can relate understanding why something is dangerous, it kind of goes back to my firefighter and EMT training. With firefighting, we already know that it's dangerous. Everyone knows firefighting is dangerous. Everyone knows police and EMS and fire, all that stuff is dangerous. But why? Okay, a lot of the obvious stuff pops out. Well, police get shot at. Firefighters can get burned. EMTs, a lot of people are like, I don't know. Is that really dangerous? It is. And understanding why helps organizations and helps individuals mitigate those dangers. It's not always just fire. The fire itself doesn't kill very many firefighters. It does, but it doesn't kill very many. What kills a lot of firefighters is literally traffic control. Another thing that kills firefighters is cancer. Another thing that kills firefighters is roof collapse. Another thing that kills firefighters is depression and PTSD and suicide. Same thing with police, same thing with EMS. Police obviously get shot at. I don't know too much about police because I don't do police, but EMTs, biohazards. We are in contact with sick people. That's why they're calling us. And there's a good chance of getting HIV, hepatitis C, all the hepatitises, MRSA, shingles, all these different things that are contagious. So how do we, mitigate that? We know it's dangerous, but why is it dangerous? How is it dangerous? All these different things. And start asking this about motorcycling too while you're listening to this. With firefighting, it's like I said, it's not necessarily only fires, but building collapse. So why is that? What can we learn? So part of firefighting is knowing what types of buildings are. What are they? What are they made of? Is it wood shake shingles on the top, or is it tiles on the top? Is it a metal? Is it wood? It does play quite a bit. So we have to start to learn how to read smoke to make sure, what kind of stuff is burning. We need to know, how long the fire has been burning. For structural collapse, is the AC unit on the top or on the bottom in the backyard? All these different things we need to understand to mitigate the dangers that are associated with firefighting. And throughout the years, there's been new standards, new things to help prevent a lot of that danger, to make it safer. It's not going to be safe, 100% safe. It's going to be safer. Same thing with EMS. You wear gloves, you wear eye protection, you wear protection over the mouth so you don't inhale particles. All these different things to mitigate some of these problems with all the other training that we do. So now let's equate that to motorcycling. We understand that it's dangerous. We know that it's dangerous. We know that if you get into a crash, there's a good possibility of injury and death. We know that. But then how do we prevent that, or how do we make that pretty much less happening? Let's make it so that it doesn't happen very much. There we go. What do we do? And it really goes back to the training. It really goes back to knowing what types of accidents are out there, knowing how things typically happen. And then now, what can we do to prevent that for ourselves? And if we can't prevent that, and it's just like a fluke or something crazy, like a deer running out, how do we prevent that? So how do we mitigate that? We'll wear full gear. It's pretty much one of the simple things to do, is just to wear all the gear all the time. Okay, but that's not always going to save us. So a car pulling out in front of us, how do we mitigate that? Our gear might do a good job, but there's still a good chance of having very bad injuries or death from that, depending on the speed. So how do we prevent, a car turning left in front of us? Well, we can't prevent the car. Just like firefighters can't prevent a fire. It just happens, and then we get called to it. We're there to solve a problem. So when a car is pulling out in front of us, we're here to solve a problem here. A problem just got presented to us. How do we solve that problem safely as possible? And typically it's going to be a swerve or emergency braking and then swerve, or swerve then braking. That's what we're going to do. Okay, but then how do we prevent it? Now, part of the whole firefighting thing, remember, there's fire prevention. We have fire inspectors that go to places and say, this needs to have sprinklers, this needs to have stop blocks in the construction, basically so fire can't travel very well. These need to have fire doors so they close in when alarm gets shut so that fire and smoke doesn't travel. So that's all preventative measures that will help firefighters stay safe when it comes to things. And it might even prevent an incident to where the firefighters aren't even called. So how do we equate that to fire or to motorcycling? So a car turning left in front of us. How do we prevent that? Well, we can't prevent the car turning in front of us, but what we can do is see ahead and look and predict, hey, we're coming up to an intersection. There's a good possibility that a car could turn in front of us because it's an intersection. So we have this predictive hazard. We have this zone of that could be dangerous. Just like when we enter a fire or a house fire, we know that this is dangerous, and we have to constantly be on situational awareness. How long has this fire been burning? Is there an AC unit on the top? Is it going to collapse through? If this fire's been burning for 10 minutes, we have a very good chance of the fire collapsing the roof because the structural members and the attic is on fire. So it's time to pull out and do a defensive fire. So when we're going up to an intersection, we need to be thinking, okay, this is an intersection. I need to present myself better. I need to move over to this lane position. I need to go ahead and move a little bit so that my headlight is moving so that I'm a moving object, so I'm seen better. I'm also going to cover the front brakes, not apply them, but cover the front brakes just so I can remove part of that reaction time so that when I start applying the brakes, my total stopping distance is reduced, so maybe that will save me. All these different techniques. And then if something does happen and those techniques don't work, now what do? We need to swerve, we need to brake, we need to do all these different things. So that really comes with understanding, that it is dangerous, but then why is it dangerous? How do we mitigate that specific danger? And then apply those skills. Always be aware of them. Always be conscious. Always practice. So practicing your skills is very important, but then how do you get those skills? We're going to take another step back, and this is what I can consistently do with everything. Take an objective view of the problems at hand. So how do we get these skills? Well, you take a class. Take an MSF Basic Rider Course class. Take an MSF Basic Rider Course class 2 where you bring your own bike, or take an advanced class. Definitely take a beginner class first, or swing on by ddfmcrew.com. Booyah! I have a bunch of stuff on that website that will teach you friction zone, will teach you how to emergency brake, will teach you how to swerve, teach you how to do U-turns, figure eights, all these different things. And those are all great skills to know because that's the basics. That's how to control your bike. If you can't control the bike, you can't swerve, you can't brake, you can't do nothing, you can't shift. You don't understand all these things if you don't know how to control the bike. Same thing with knowing how to control your SCBA, the big compressed air tank on the back of firefighters. You need to know how to use it in case of emergency. You need to know how to turn it off, turn it on. You need to check your regulator to make sure you have enough air. You need to know how to use buddy breathing just in case you run out of compressed air and your buddy runs out of compressed air. You combine the both. So you need to know how to use your equipment, and your bike is equipment. So you need to know how to swerve. You need to know how far your bike can lean. You need to know how your brakes react to your squeeze. All these different things. So yes, Alan Taylor, what's the most important thing a rider needs to know to be safe on the road? That it's dangerous. You need to understand how it's dangerous, why it's dangerous, all these different things, and then start taking steps back. As intersections are dangerous, why? Because of this, and this. Okay, now what can I do to mitigate this, and this? Well, I do training with this, and this. Boom, that is solved. Now curves. Okay, you can go into curves. You can go into uphill, downhill. You can go into parking lot. You can go into highway riding. You can go into wind. You can go into rain. You can go into this. You can go into this. But these are all situations that typically wouldn't come up to you until you experience it. And that's the beauty of this channel and other channels, is that We're constantly telling you out there that this is a danger, this is a danger, this is a danger, this is a danger. This is how you fix it, this is how you fix it, this is how you fix it. And before you know it, you have 20, 30 situations with solutions that is in your toolbox. So now when you go out riding, anytime those situations come up, you have practiced and trained to mitigate and solve those problems. You really need to treat motorcycling like it's a job. And I treat it like it's a job. And I also treat other things like this. I treat hiking, I treat camping, I treat driving my car long distance. I treat sitting here and worrying about carpal tunnel. My ass is getting flat because I'm not working out, because I'm not freaking, working out because I'm so focused on doing all this stuff. But it's not healthy. It's not good. How do I mitigate that? How do I mitigate, heart disease? I'm starting to figure out all these things and all these problems and trying to find solutions. And you have to do that. We're pretty vulnerable creatures. We are so vulnerable. It is so easy to die on this planet as humans. And the best thing you could possibly do to be 100% safe is just not to ride, but that's not what we're here for. We enjoy riding. We enjoy driving. We enjoy hiking. We enjoy getting on the computer. We enjoy all these different things, but there is a consequence to a lot of these things. And how do we reduce the negative consequences? And that's by understanding that pretty much everything in this world is dangerous to humans, especially motorcycling. But why, how, what, all these different things that we need to start figuring out and solving so that we're not in a position of absolute danger all the time. Because then that induces panic, that induces anxiety, and it's not a fun ride. So knowing for every situation what to do makes for an amazing ride. It helps out so much, because the anxiety and all that stuff is reduced quite a bit. And then when you know what to do, you feel like you're in control. You have confidence. And then if you keep practicing, you have more and more and more. And then you'll get to the point where it's time for an advanced class. It's time to blow up my skills and be taught by an actual coach and instructor. And that's very, very important to do. So, Alan Taylor, great question. I like to talk and talk and talk, but once again, what's the most important thing a rider needs to know to be safe on the road? You need to understand that motorcycling is dangerous and why it's dangerous. And then follow that rabbit hole. Okay, guys? With that said, I hope you guys ride safe, be safe, and swing on by the DDFM crew Discord. I have a link in the description on YouTube, but it's basically discord.gg/Dan the Fireman, and we have close to 2,200 members as of right now, and there is an amazing support community in there that will talk with you, hang out with you, answer your questions, no matter what it is. Okay, guys? I'll see you around.